YouTube to I hope I've been live for a while. Oh, but because I had moved over. Oh no, you missed all of that. Wow. So it goes. And that's a fact. Well, interesting. I am minimizing what is not required. I am taking out what is. I see that there are comments. I see that we're getting full screens. There's so much happening. And I really am wanting to get myself into the corner where I am less focused on the technology and am turning this into a very relevant message too. I would say to you, who is responding on where misfits fit, thank you. Amazing. And why I set the computer here to start was because, in fact, I wanted to light a candle for what is happening and call in the energies of the ascended masters, the ancient ones, our ancestors, to call in the elements of the north, east, south, west, to have more ceremony and to know how to do that, in fact. But for now, to let this be enough and to say that that will be part of what comes in this year as I reconnect with the Mune key rites, which are a form of Peruvian shamanism I got started with when I lived in England and then finished when I came back. So here we go. Do you know how disappointing it is to know that this is the second message today where I tried to record something and then found out it hadn't actually started as I'd moved on to the next thing that I thought had already got the first one going with? Can be frustrating. And then it's also a reminder of first world problems in the scheme of things. So what we're going to do, as well as light the candle to bring in that element of sacred natures, is to actually light the Palo Santo, which is a great clearer of energy, especially when you have a window open. Because when the window is open, then the energy has some place to go other than recycling. So I am going to just open a window. Well, I'll go over to my convenient window that has the stool in front of it, even though you can't see me there. I want you to know that while I'm not in front of you, it is you in view at all times. Now, I know that there are several of my friends suggesting mics because of the sound quality, and I actually have them. I just can't figure out how to get them fully set up properly. And so I just tend to revert to my comfort zone of just letting good enough be good enough, which good enough is good enough until you know how to do it better and then choose not to because you won't put in the effort. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm also going to be this week doing more community building and connecting opportunities, such as on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Kip Brooks and I will be doing a Peaceful Inner Warriors United Summit on legacy. And so as we see this flame and now the smoke that comes from it, the tree that was in the fire and the flame that came onto it and touched it for only but a short time, but a permanent mark, then we realize that everything it clears that is no longer of the greatest and highest good is released, and everything that we dream of can be made possible with our commitment. Commitment is everything. It is the reason why I got fully committed last year before I fully knew how. And so I say to you that your journey is what makes your character. And your character is the one that you play in this virtual reality that we call life. It is about understanding that we are so much more than what we have been taught. Because if we were taught the truth, we would have tuned into the nature of how amazing and magical we truly are as the alchemists of the world that we create. So truly, we are the creator looking upon the worlds that we have created, each of them separate, so far as your public life is concerned, your personal life, your private life. Think about all of the worlds that you currently have and how difficult it can be to manage them. You have an online presence, you have a physical presence, and how often is that physical presence interrupted with a online distraction? Well, this morning, in preparation for our service, which is a casual and informal way to just remind you to start your day in the right way by getting your mind right, because that is where men tall problems, where men begin to feel smaller than the tallness of their problems. And then they have health issues that come from the dis-ease of being in a constant state of stress, which all of us know is not good for us. And so each week we are going to come together in the name of health, in the name of wealth, prosperity, abundance, and togetherness. In the name of people, we will come together and we will gather and we will unite and we will remember that this is not all about profits. I am not asking anything of anyone for this simply because it was on my heart to do it, and so I answered the call. I want you to ask yourself where in your life you are being called and where you may be falling behind, where you may not be actually heeding that message and instead trying to create your own path, which creates resistance. I want you to ask your own self, where are you most happy? I want you to ask yourself what it means to you to be broken open and to find the shaman lover that can bring you back to life. Like in Elizabeth Lesser's book, Broken Open, my mom gave me when I came back from living in England. I lived in England for 3.5 years with one of my mentors in the John Maxwell team that I was in a relationship with for 3.5 years. So I got access to the highest level of leadership, training and communications training and marketing and sales, business building, all of it. I got access to the very best, and I'm so grateful and I feel so blessed to have been given the opportunities that I had, to have been able to travel and live abroad and be able to come home twice a year to see my grandparents, who I have lived with for the last 3, except my grandma passed in April. And this whole experience has been like COVID-19, this whole experience has absolutely been a shit show, to say the least. And that is to say that it is human to swear. It is also important to be mindful of when we do, whether we are using those words as sentence enhancers, like what SpongeBob SquarePants says swear words can be, or whether we are using them in vain. And if we are using them in vain, then it is malintent, and there is no addition that it makes by adding to it, and therefore it then just takes away like clutter. If we fill our sentences with swear words without having a reason to do so, then we are seeking connection at a lower level, which means we're only going to get more of that. And the shaman lover is the affair that Elizabeth Lesser speaks about in Broken Open on page 120, where she references the Japanese poet Fujiwara no Tikiya, or Fujiwaranoteika. Okay, so it's the poem itself is beautiful. From the beginning, I knew meeting could only end in parting, yet I ignored the coming dawn and I gave myself to you. While I had never felt anything like this before, my shaman lover was practiced in the art of falling in love. Please understand how this relates to life and starting out 2021. He saw the end coming even before we started. I danced into the flames like a silly moth, drunk on the fire, drunk on the kiss. This was the kiss, and suddenly I wanted it with my whole life. We have to be very, very mindful of where we are going to put our energy, our time, our effort, attention, and our money. Those are the energetic resources that we are playing with. We also have to remember that our soul has an intuition. The intuition is the teacher the soul hired ahead of time in order to ensure we always had access to the answer wherever we were. Jung wrote, Eros is a questionable fellow and will always remain so. He belongs on one side to man's primordial animal nature, which will endure as long as man has an animal body. On the other side, he is related to the highest forms of the spirit, but he thrives only when spirit and instinct are in right harmony. My spirit and my instinct became less and less harmonious in my relationship with my shaman lover. Spirit does not fare well when lines are told and when children are in need of their mother's attention. A longing for honesty, like rays of light poking through a thick cloud cover, started seeping into the underworld where I had been living. I began to feel a pull toward the light as urgently as I had felt the pull toward the darkness. I wanted to come clean. I wanted to bring what I had found below into the light of day. Like Persephone, I had to find a way to bridge the two worlds. We're in a time right now that is calling for us to bridge the timelines. We are currently facing a very great, heavy volume of karmic mass accumulated within the collective electronic belt, from my understanding, that I'll be posting very soon. That is the next episode of the Michael and Laura Show. And we'll be talking about the electronic belt and the accrued karma. But further to our personal karma, we also have a collective shared karma. And that collective shared karma is what we have to understand we are feeding when we are fearful. And it is our fearful and faithful natures that are the instinctual and also the intuitive pieces of our own selves. Instinct is to stay safe. Intuition is to stay healthy. And there's a very big difference because no one makes it out of life alive. It's not a mystery or a surprise. And yet somehow we're pretending that yes, we want to be here longer. Yes, we want to be healthier. Yes, we want to believe that the people that have been making up the rules have had our best interest at heart. Yes, I understand. And yet I understand the truth better. Because truth is about resonance and feeling and the vibe. And when we can actually come online, when we can actually tune into who and whose we truly are, again, when we can find the shaman lover within our own selves that knows how to love us, that knows how to be compassionate to ourselves, that knows how to say, honey, it's okay. Because, I set the picture of myself next to the frog I painted while I lived in England with my bonus kids that I had for that time. And this is me when I was about in grade 5 or 6, maybe. Maybe it wasn't even, maybe grade 4. I can't quite remember. I'm sure it's at the back. But the point is, this little girl had beautiful hair, and I hadn't yet started developing my adult teeth by this time. But it was shortly thereafter that I went to the hairdresser who thought it would be really cute to cut my hair all off. And when I went to school then after, I was called dog and ugly, and I was teased, and I felt hideous because I looked to outside circumstances in order to determine my wealth. And this version of me, if she were here with me, I would say, honey, it is not about the hair at all. It is about who you are. And so I would talk to her differently, and I would say that these bears, reflective of the adage about the old the family of bears, Mama, Papa, and Baby Bear, and about how Mama Bear's cereal is always cold by the time she gets to it because she's just looked after everyone else first. So her man's is super hot, and then Baby Bear's has had time to settle because she's put the effort into cooling it down so that he or she can eat, and then the mom gets to hers because that's how we've been trained. But we also have to understand that the story of the three bears that I'm just reminded of as I hold this picture was taught to me by Carolyn Mace, who actually talks about Mama Bear being the heart, Papa Bear being the mind, and Baby Bear being the spirit, seeking expression through us, the individualized expressions of the grand overall designer that each of us are. Which is why each of us have the I am that I am presence above us, like a chord that is calling us to remember what we are capable of becoming. And no, God does not look the same. God is expressed in a gazillion different ways, each aspect of itself expressing and reflecting the whole of who and whose we all are. Understanding we are one. I sit with a mushroom blanket, or it's a really cool pattern, to be fair. It wasn't what I expected either, but however it goes, I paid the money and I received it, and now I'm sitting on it and I'm using it. But the mushroom and the myceli and the root system that the mushroom build is what we are being called to do. And the best we can do is to be gentle with ourselves and to actually do the inner work, to put our inner children safe, to make them feel safe within us, so that then they are willing to come with us as we achieve our goal functionally. Because there is a functional and a dysfunctional creative component to everything. And if we understand the creative and uncreative aspects of things, in fact, that is not true at all, because there is no such thing as unresourceful people, only unresourceful states. So we've turned it around, and we have came to see that it is about graduating. And so we are going to just get that set up so that we can remind ourselves that we have survived 100% of our darkest days. Congratulations. Each of us have survived 100% of our darkest days. We made it through the valley of transformation into the darkest night of the soul when we are in the fight for our life, where the fearful and the faithful are fighting inside of us so strongly that we may even externalize it, like what I did last year when I went through an enlightenment experience, essentially, that saw me proclaim to be an ambassador for peace, and that I wanted to bring together all of the best of all of the world religions and traditions in order to create a common foundation so that we could all feel safe and live coherently in peace and harmony with love in our hearts for each other, even if the BS is not the same. However, the corrupt agendas and the people who are prioritizing profits over people, that BS needs to be addressed. And I felt and feel like that needs to happen. I have just learned how to approach my crazy perspective around certain people, because now I understand that not everyone wants my truth to be true. And I understand that too. It's very inconvenient. It is a very inconvenient lie to wake up to a corrupted system, which when I got stuck in the system in the first place, in addition to proclaiming to be the ambassador for peace, that I do still feel that I am, though say sheepishly, because how do you even say that until you have the title? And then it's like, I am this. But until then, it's like, well, they always say that you proclaim it first and then the people come to you believing you are that, because we get who we expect ourselves to be. So call me an ambassador for peace. I am here to help unite the people through the people's movement, which is the Peaceful Inner Warriors United Movement. I have a podcast where I'll be featuring experts throughout the year, and I'll also be doing a summit on Tuesday, January 5th, with Kip Brooks about legacy, and we'll be doing another summit every 2 weeks just to help us remember that there is power when we come together, especially in person, which is the reason for the physical distancing. That it is called social distancing is a reflection of the fact that we are being taught not to socialize because there's power in that. And we live in an inverted reality where what we have been trained to believe is true is a perverted truth of what is actually true. And what is different between what is true and what is truth is that truth is universal and cannot be contradicted. So the teachings of the Ascended Masters, for instance, as from what Michael Seegers, who has been a great guide to me into their work and their theories after 40 years of study into them, we're now sharing those in the Michael and Laura show. He says that the truth cannot be contradicted. Therefore, no master will contradict a fellow master. So if what we're hearing is not true, or if it's not truth, then it will contradict something somewhere. And there are so many disinformation and misinformation campaigns going on right now with this internet that it's overwhelming. And then if we actually look at the fact that all of this is actually connected with a technocratic overtaking that is about amalgamating the human with the robot before more of the humans are removed due to the Sustainability Act, which is going down a rabbit hole that can bring up a lot of fear, except awareness comes with power once we have a solution to go to. And part of the problem with many of these conspiracies that so many people have got lost in over the last year while all of this has been going on is the fact that in truth, my goodness, the truth is that we're focused on their program, on their pattern, on what they propose. And in doing so, we are actually giving energy to the very thing that scares us and angers us and makes us rally our lower emotions. But the thing is that if we can actually tune ourselves into a higher vibe, into a fifth dimensional experience or beyond, if we are able to actually choose a higher path, we are able to experience states of consciousness that allow us to perceive the energy and motion that is showing up in the present moment for where it originated in the past. Because what we're being called to do in these self-compassion services is to forgive that which is calling on your attention. So whatever has been showing up for you, whatever feelings, your feelings are your interpretation of the energies in motion, and you're going to have stories attached to those feelings too. So understand that those feelings are all connected to your self-image, and your self-image is the container in which all of your BS about yourself are stored, which are your belief systems. So when we realize that all of it is there, all of it is happening for us, never to us. When we understand that we are fully supported and we are being called to fully support one another, we really bring our power back to the present moment where we can actually choose whether we are going to confuse what someone says is true with what is truth. When we first heard a certain story about masks being not good for us, and then that story was changed days after Gates came to our country here in Ontario, the local politicians were given big donations for mandating this bylaw that was then perpetuated as a universal truth. But it's not. It's against our constitutional rights. And we're having our rights taken away right, left, and center, and we're not stepping up because we are not respecting ourselves or our future enough. We're looking at it and saying, okay, well, let's keep our elderly safe, and let's keep our little ones safe, and let's keep our medical people safe. Well, the medical people are already indoctrinated. So they've already agreed to play the game, which is why they're the first to get the injections. And then you have to understand that elderly people have a lot of capital. And so they're very valuable to no longer have to house, just in the same way that in a meat farming operation, the older the cow, the more valuable they are dead than alive. We actually, by the C'est Qui Vie Act of 1666, were sold out by our keepers then, the controllers that we gave our power to because we didn't know we could take it back. But what we're being called to do now is do exactly that. And so the C'est Qui La Vie, or the C'est Qui Vie Act, which is a French word for, well, that's life, is basically that we were all declared and proclaimed dead and lost at sea. You can look it up. CESTQUIVIE, C'est Qui Vie Act of 1666, when the devil overtook us, just as Gates's has a patent that was made March 20th, 2020. Well, not on that day, but in year 2020. And the patent is 060606. Truly, that's no joke. And there's actually what's called the luciferase enzyme, which is a bioluminescence gel that actually connects us to the cloud through the nanoparticles. So essentially, all of this overtaking is to get people familiar with technology in the 70s, 80s, 90s, the phone, then the internet, and TV, and make it all about that, Netflixing and chilling. There's even ice cream named that because I checked it out through my till yesterday. I'm a cashier on the front lines, serving people, and hopefully igniting the remembrance to each of the ones that come through my till that a smile can change somebody's day. A smile can save someone's life. Because sometimes we feel so alone that we just really need connection with somebody. And did you know that when you actually smile and connect with someone straight in their eyes, you are infusing them with light? You are actually infusing them with light unless you are using deception and devious intentions to send lives their way instead of the light by perverting it and converting it. And what we must understand is that there is another way to do that same thing in a positive way, and that is through transmutation. Transmutation of energy, especially using the violet flame that Saint Germain gifted humanity to ensure that we were not lost here without spiritual tools to assist with clearing of karma. Self-compassion is about realizing that we may have a house full of junk, and let me tell you, my desk is presently full of notes still. It's not quite the same as what it was before, and many pages have been burnt, and each of those were liberations of my own creative freedom. And the 33 days to dream a new dream together is a new email series that I started on the 30th of December until the end of January. So today has been day 5. And I would love to have you receiving those messages live by signing up at ljeh.ca. If you haven't already, why not? Curious, genuinely. What would the answer to that be? And that then makes me remember the story of Nehemiah that was told by the pastor I was listening to this morning, David Hibiske of Echo Church. Hibiske was his last name. And it was a brilliant service about, in our brokenness, it's hard to get past it. Opening a window of faith requires a crack to our sense of belonging to the world. So what do we belong to? Self-protection is the enemy of faith as to what God may be able to birth in us and through us. Self-preservation is about keeping me safe at the expense of we. And what we must understand is not everyone's going to make it either way. None of us are bound to be here for the same amount of time. And yet we have a chance to decide whether we'll have faith curiosity, so faithful curiosity as to why we're being guided a certain way, or whether we're going to have a distracted curiosity, like when we're sitting on our phones and scrolling through, looking at people we don't even know's pictures, thinking about their life and making imaginings about what it must really be like to be them, when the truth is, it really only comes down to what it means to be ourselves. And really getting comfortable and familiar with that is even more important, I would say. Now, I want to also step over onto Facebook and make sure that there aren't any messages there. And next week, I'm going to be doing this service again. However, it's going to be at 10:10 and it's the 10th day, because I am a 10:10 baby born on the 10th day of the 10th month. And so, it being my favorite, I want to start our meeting at that time as well. And I love the fact that there is a "I did it" beside me. That is just so fun to me. You did it. I did it. You did it. We did it. We are in this together, my friends. Truly. It is so exciting. It is so exciting to understand that intentions are the energy of your soul coming into contact with your physical reality. Wayne Dyer. It is about letting go of the baggage and realizing that somebody may have come into our kingdom and trashed it. Somebody may have come into our kingdom and made judgments and left garbage based on their hangups and what the beauty of your space reminded and triggered in them. And then you have to understand that that matters less than what we're going to do about it once it's happened. Because the law of the garbage truck says that people are driving around filling up with drama, trauma, baggage, and victimization and victimhood and the energy of that all day, most days. And sometimes they're going to run into you. And we have to be the ones who decide what we're going to do about that. Whether we are going to take their baggage personally, or whether we instead are going to say, "No thanks, you can keep it. I choose not to play that game. But thank you. Thanks for thinking of me. No, thank you. Have a good day." And move. It's like when they're about to dump it and we can see that moment, it's just like, oh, they're not going to be able to balance judgment and mercy. And so I'm just going to take a very fast off ramp for my own safety and the security of our friendship, because we don't always want to say what comes to mind, because sometimes there's a very hurt aspect of ourselves, a very hurt inner child within ourselves that just really wants to take our hat off and just say, okay, this is me, and how do you like me now? How do you like me now? Now that I'm on my way, you still think I'm crazy, living here today. Couldn't make you love me, but always dreamed about it. Living in your radio, how do you like me now? I don't know the words specifically, but that was the song that came to mind. Oh, that's fun. There is a collective karma, and we must individually let go of our own karma. And then we'll be able to transmute some of the karma of the world. And transmutation brings us back to the violet flame that I have shared with the help of Michael in the Michael and Laura show, where we actually talk about the violet flame. We talk about the tube of light that's outside of that. We talk about the causal body and the 7 rays. We introduce the ascended masters. And the very start of it all was about spiritual warfare and the nature of evil, being the E hyphenated to represent energy veiled as what evil truly is, because it looks good. The devil comes bearing everything you could ever have wanted. But the expense and cost is your soul and your ability and willingness to turn around and return back to the great central sun that we all come from and that we have a chance to return to, and we all see when we leave. So they say, when the light comes, that is home, baby. What if we could bring home into our hearts, though? Wow, right? I've been working very diligently for a long time to be able to sit here and share this message with you. And I thank you for tuning in, genuinely. I appreciate you for showing up and for being willing to take some of your precious time, energy, effort, and attention to listen to me. And while, like I say, money's not the thing that matters most, there is an exchange that takes place. And consider it interest or residual ripple effects that just excite and delight me and become the payment that I ask, which is to be kind to your fellow man. Would that be too much for me to say, instead of paying me, pay it forward? Please be nice to someone. Give generously without expectation, but not financially per se. Financially, yes, that will help some people at a time. But as Jesus said, teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a meal, and then he's coming to you for more. And like Putin, who did an experiment where he basically plucked all of a chicken's feathers out while the poor thing was fully conscious and screaming for his life. And then the bloody plucked chicken was then set in front of him and the audience. And it was clearly in pain and terrified by what had just happened to it. And then Putin chucked him some corn, some food. And suddenly the chicken forgot all about the pain and forgot that he was the one that had hurt him, but instead saw that he was the one that had the food and that was who it was going to follow. Don't be a fucking chicken, man. Pardon my language. Really foul, but sometimes necessary. And as SpongeBob SquarePants says, swear words can be sentence enhancers. However, I really feel like I'm going to have to cut it out. And this year may be the year that I need to do that, because ultimately, if I'm going to be talking about and teaching on or being seen teaching about the power of the spoken word or the science of the spoken word, then I really need to be more mindful. Because when you become a disciple, when you truly develop the devotion to actually become your ascended self, more is required. And to whomever much is given, much is required. Why I do these things. Because I've been given very much by family, by the universe, by friends. I feel very, very, very blessed. Not just financially, but just, I'm not a materialistic type of person so much. I would do well to actually go shopping, to be fair, but I just don't care to, because it's just, why? We have access to so much, and I understand the need for more. I do, I get it. And books and courses and trainings and things like that have always been where I put my energy, my time, my money. And people have judged me so hard for doing so. But you know, right now, nobody can go and do what I've done because the world's shut down. And I already got to experience parts of the world, many of them, and got to see different ways of life and ways that people live, and connecting with higher level circles where possibility is the focus, not the problem. And being in those groups and with those people and knowing about their life, the John Maxwell team was loaded with amazing leaders. I find the best wherever I go because I seek them out, and I hope you do too. I hope that's why you're here. I know I have a lot of wisdom to share because I've been through the ringer. I've been through the valley of transformation and integrated the experiences, including 8 DMT ceremonies from last year, which is essentially the chemical that your brain produces at birth, death, and in dream state. So you go deep fast, and it was with the support of a shaman. However, 8 of them within a few months of each other, without the practical tools to integrate those energies, was disastrous in ways because I had so much information without integration that I was in my head and not my heart. And that's the real fall out of the Garden of Eden. It was from the heart into the head, where we got separated from our own divine nature, our own devotion to the central sun, which is where we all come from, and have a middleman too, which is through the Christ consciousness, Christed consciousness. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would be sitting here talking about Jesus Christ, really. I'm not talking about the man, I'm talking about what the energy of him who came to help us clear our karma so that we can get back. Though I'm also now aware of how much karma you accrue as a teacher who shares misinformation too, because that then gets collected in the electronic belt of you and then the one who accrues interest because they misqualified their choice based on your recommendation. There's so much that we are not even considerate of because we just don't know, and we don't know what we don't know until we know it. And then when we know it, we know that we're not good at it yet, and then we can practice, and then we can get consciously good at it, and then we get to the point where we forget not knowing that we didn't know it. And when you've been on a journey as long as what I've been on it for just 9 years, for instance, and I'm truly grateful I didn't wake up any faster than I did, to be truly honest, because I don't think I would have been able to handle the amount of persecution that comes with having a different opinion about the way that things are that goes against the mainstream for longer than I have, which my mental health check-in experience when I basically called the cops and said, there's corruption and you guys are involved. And I don't know who else to call. I was trying to get to the embassy because I truly felt like in teaching the kids in China English, I was teaching them mouse, computer, laptop, click, circle. And it was like I had this knowing that I was actually teaching them to take over our country. And I was tuned into the energies of what was happening over there because it was September 27th. And there was energetic mayhem over there already. And I believe that I was tuned into that without understanding it, or that I was an empath, am an empath, always have been. Haven't ever known anything else, but I've always really understood the language of emotions more than what some do. And what I learned in the classes just made sense. And I somehow knew because that's just who I am. And you may be one too. And so don't take things personally when other people project onto you, because it's never truly about you in the first place. It's just about how much of the blame you're willing to take so that they can steal your power for as long as what you're willing to give it. Then understanding that when we freely give something that we think is unlimited, then there's no running out, except we have to be conscious or we won't be given the chance again. And that is why this is the lifetime when we have a chance to ascend. Why we have a chance now in this lifetime to clear 51% of our karma, which isn't even a lot. And the intention for these services is to really help you with that. The intention for these services is about upliftment, community, empowerment, connection, sharing, growing, developing, strengthening, and having a commitment and accountability by being able to join in calls live. So this message was just me here in front of you with a few little diddles and insights to share about why I would love for you to join me in the coming year. And to also say that the only story I can tell is my own. And sometimes other people's story gets told when we tell ours, and they don't like how that implicates them. And so it has been very difficult to figure out how to share my story without sharing the stories of others in a way they would find disrespectful. And yet for me and you, when telling yours, it's just the truth from my perspective. There are things that I will be sharing that are the truth from my perspective. And that's what I am doing each day of the 33 Days to Dream a New Dream Together series. And the reason for that series is because I truly believe that we have a responsibility to step up, that we have a responsibility to say that censorship is the greatest way that people are kept from information. And to keep your bubble small is to also keep your resource pool limited. And if you are willing to adhere to that rule, then it also means that you are not going to be believing the conspiracy theorists who are simply truth tellers. Some of them are conspiracies per se that don't necessarily add up. But if you actually connect the dots between so many of them, the crazy thing is the truth is stranger than fiction. And so what we're going to do when we come together is we're going to make the You Did It bag into our peace bag. And so I would love for you to send names and energies of people in this moment, actually. And we'll do this each week, where we actually send the names of those that we would like to have energetic clearings done for. And we're going to just actually send each of the ones that are considered in this moment by anyone on the call. We're going to actually just do some clearing for each of them. And if you didn't add your name in there, please now do. Because you are important. And as much as it is about making everyone else more important and putting others first and being of service, self-compassion is the greatest way that we can be of service to all. So I would really like, in this moment, for you to understand that this flame over top of the You Did It bag represents the clearing that is taking place of energies of the past that no longer serve, that are no longer required, that are no longer necessary, and that are appreciated for all that they did to bring us to the present moment as who we have become. The journey shapes us, and we must be grateful. And we must understand that everything has a flame that only lasts for so long. And as the flame goes out, we realize that the smoke too is a transmutation of the energies that used to brew before in flame and now in smoke. And before that, just existed, as we may have been doing for too long, because we did not come here merely to exist. That is not what we creative, conscious beings are about in truth. Is it? Did you come here just to exist? No. What? There. 3 swipes of the You Did It bag to clear out the fact that we are here for so much more. And Palo Santo is great for clearing space and then also making space for something new to brew in place of that. So what I would love is, now that each of those who have been put into that bag are receiving the clearing energetic patterns that severs all cords to negativity that bind us to past not now moments, which is done through the assistance of Archangel Michael with his blazing blue sword and shield of protection that is worn by warriors. And he slices through the cords of negativity that bind you or that person to the dis-ease in their experience that is the reason you called on them of all ones. And as the sword slices through that umbilical cord of energy, like a power cord, so to speak, and you decide to see them go away, realize that Archangel Gabriel comes right away after to seal and heal both ends so that both sides are left better for having had the connection. That, my friends, it's 2:55, is how you can sever cords of negativity that bind you to a not now moment. And each week we can do the You Did It bag. And so each week I would ask you to actually accrue a name of a few people that you want to send blessings to. And we'll do that together. I feel like if each of us can bring 10 people to the bag, and we can put each of their names on for healing and for hope and for faith, and to know that they are going to be part of a faith service like what this is, that's non-dogmatic or denominational, that references the truth so far as what I have been able to perceive it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect, and I don't know everything in the universe by any means. The more we know, the more we realize, the less we know in truth. It's more a process of unlearning things. And yet, when we understand who came before us, then we truly understand the nature of what it means to be living and standing on the shoulders of giants. I just realized. I'm trying to get to my YouTube. Oh, I appreciate you. You did not realize this. Same here in America. You are the ambassador of peace. Oh, amazing. Thank you for being here. I couldn't see your messages because I had my Facebook open. That's awesome. I appreciate your contributions there, John. That's awesome. And so, everyone, anybody else that has been listening to this that wants to share a comment or what this message means to you, I would love to know. I would love to know what would be the most valuable thing that I could speak into in one of the upcoming services. I will do the next one at 10:10 on January 10th, as mentioned. I'm also going to be introducing a book that I would love for you to become familiar with too, and that is The Four Agreements, a Toltec Wisdom Guide by Don Miguel Ruiz. So I am going to read that aloud as I did The Alchemist on Thursday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So you can join in here on Facebook or YouTube to listen to that broadcast live. And know that in the meantime, I will also be getting that message that Michael and I did on the electronic belt up today too. So I can't wait to share more with you and hope that you will join the 33 days to dream a new dream together experience that we are now on day 5 of. I hope that you enjoyed the self-compassion service, the first of its kind, and apologize for it coming on a little late. I thought that it was live sooner than it was. It needed evidently me to stay on the page longer. So sometimes when you move too fast, you miss things. And it's important not to do that. And yet it's all a matter of learning and growing. So I'll be graceful with myself and say thank you very much for tuning in today, for being willing to say something and to this amazing experience called life that we are living and that we have a chance to grow from, which is why we came to this glorious place. I'll be working, but we'll watch it when I can so I can listen to you. Beautiful. Thank you, John. Well, that'll be amazing to have you there and look forward to hearing your comments when that is posted. Electronic belt, I should be able to get it up probably tonight or tomorrow. I have so many things that I do, so many little projects, but I hope to be able to turn it all into gold for you. So thanks for doing these. You're amazing. You're amazing too. Thank you. I feel like truly I just ride at a higher level. Like try being in a mental institution and like getting diagnosed with bipolar when it's just like, do you have an off day? It's like, absolutely, yes. But generally speaking, those off days are really when I'm buying into a story that doesn't feel true to me and that ultimately is very shitty. And that is the reality that most live in, that profits are more important than people. When I say no. Reverse, reverse, reverse. It is about people over profits. We are a people who must understand the hue of our humanity. As an extra E, I put it in to make us think about the fact that humanity is all hues, and if we are willing to band together, we can see it is 3 p.m., which means I've been here for an hour. You have been too, and so I say to you, thank you. I send you love and hope you get an infusion of love to carry into your day and pass along to all those you play with throughout your day. I hope that you will have some fun and feed your soul and come out to know more about legacy on Tuesday at 7. I'm in a singing mood, it's true, so I'll say goodbye. Today I hope you got something from this service. It's true, it was the best I could do. It is one of the agreements you will hear on Thursday at 7 p.m. with Don Miguel Ruiz, read by me. It's true, but hey, what can you do? Just be yourself as freely as you can. Yes, sir. Yo, ma'am. I like to rock, it's true. What can you do when you can be in the flow of the moment and you can ride the wave of delight that comes from being right? Is it more important to be right or to be respectful of yourself and others? I'm changing minds from the head into the heart, where we may find there is a different answer. It's true, but we will at 5:55. Thank you.